Well, be careful, everybody. Sheriff Sharkey's in town, and this means this must be Radio Entrepreneurs. My name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm the host of Radio Entrepreneurs, and every week we like to talk to Phil Sharkey from the Hire Authority because there's always issues with screening and hiring and retaining the right people. So welcome back, Phil.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be with you again today, as I always look forward to these segments. And again, what I'm seeing out there now, I know we're having a reopening, hopefully, fingers crossed, that all our states are getting to a safe place, is the numbers haven't changed for me. Still seeing 30% turnout fraudulent, a gigantic number to me when, again, there's 4 of us connected here. It's not a surprise that I do. I'm not sneaking around. These signed releases are a requirement. And we see 30% turnout fraudulent from people who know they're going to be screened. So it's a gigantic number to me and a necessary successful move if you want to have a successful business.
Well, Phil, I know we're going to be talking about what kinds of businesses and industries have the greatest need for screening. I would say it's the general public. We should be screening our politicians better.
And yes, we've had some talks about that in regards to whatever side of the fence. And here's where I don't understand a lot of people's thinking. I'm not talking Republican, I'm not talking Democratic, I'm talking the integrity of the person. And so many people, as we see shoved into our faces, have no integrity. And there should be a vetting process. You should be able to, if I do a background check for a food service provider, we surely could have our politicians pass some type of background check just to make sure they have some form of integrity and some form of honesty.
That would be nice. That would be very nice instead of, looking at them after the fact.
It is, and it's not difficult to do. And I understand you get into personalities and opinions, and I think people get so focused on what they want to do for their constituents, where I want to see the person has at least a honest background and has the qualifications they claim. Because I think if they lie about themselves, they're probably going to lie about what they're doing for their constituents and what they should be doing and what they're voting on and their attendance record. I would like to see that very simple check of their past history. Many times services things that we would assume are somewhat off the wall, dangerous, conspiracy theory people. I just think to be running in government that we should have people who have a solid background, and it's not difficult to check. I could do them immediately. 2 or 3 days, we would be done.
That's pretty easy and should be within the margin of error for hiring somebody. So what industries do you think are the A industries? So let's prioritize A, B, C, and let's start with A's.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, first of all, anybody who hires someone's a potential client. I say this all the time to people. I have a tile company in Boston that we screen for, hires 1 person a year, but that 1 person for that client is gigantic. We take that with as much seriousness as we do for a client like in gaming that hires 50 people a month, because the 1 bad person for that company could bankroll that company, could bankrupt that company and cause great harm. Right now, we've seen the last 10 years, and it's an interesting dynamic, and I like to mention right away, is placement firms and consulting firms. There was a time, Jeff, where I was told to stand down in the screening industry. We're the placement company. We'll screen them as well. We don't need you. I'm not going to bring your costs.
They don't care. They didn't care historically because they just wanted their commissions.
They wanted their commissions and they wanted to pass them along. And you know what else, Jeff? They didn't want to offend the person. So if it's Jeff Davis and the consulting firm, they like you, they want to place you. They don't want to rub you the wrong way. They want to keep you on the good. And what happened, I think the change I saw about 10 years ago is things started to blow up. So we have these large consulting companies that use us, and we have small one-man operations that use us to a lesser extent. And what they found is that let's bring Phil on board. Let's do a thorough background check. Then we're covered. We still keep that relationship with our client. We're great with you. We just got to send off to the screening company. If something goes wrong, we're still good. I think what we saw a lot of is that they place people in high-ranking positions, and they found out, as I always give you my famous person at the end of our segments, that the person wasn't who they claimed to be, even when they've been a very high-ranking person. And many times I see, Jeff, they're so high and so powerful that no one wants to dig in and screen them. If they say they have the degree, they're like, yes, that's good enough for us. And we find out that it's not true, that high-ranking executives can falsify and lie as well. So that industry has really turned for us to be a big, lucrative business for me and volume business for me. And we see a lot of the large companies, like the ones that starts with A and end with P, they claim they do a background check. They don't. They're involved in so many other things that a lot of our clients turn it over to us, which they feel are the experts in screening. So big industry for me now is consulting firms, placement firms, temporary companies.
What about law firms?
Big client for us. Law firms are huge, and they've seen, again, a turnaround time, I think, where that things have changed, where the same sort of dynamic where they don't want to offend a person in their thinking, and they find out that it's in such a position of damage that could be caused, and in high ranking money in cases that I don't get the pushback where they don't feel they should screen. More and more come on board and do screen. Just like getting on a plane we talked about today, you could choose to say that's an infringement on my rights. You ticked me off. I don't want to join your company, just like you don't want to fly on the plane. Well, I'd rather get on a plane where everybody's going through the best check we can. I know we all have our rights, and I don't want to infringe on any rights. We always have a signed release, but when I find 30% of the people falsify, and it doesn't change necessarily when I get up to higher ranking people's, it's a big number. And I think law firms are a great client. Trucking industry is a big client for us.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Anything with the, distribution of products.
Yeah, with distributors and trucking and what we have, like a lot of our clients will be like, well, I'll make them provide their own driving record check, and that'll be fine. That's a good start, but we find that there's so many people, and because they're transient, they go across the country many times. I could have a client who's based out of Massachusetts, and we find criminal records in Florida, or when they drove down to Texas, and
these people could be transporting drugs. I mean, real drugs, and you don't want them to compromise the drugs or food, our food distribution channels. So you want people who have integrity.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer to the common person, but many times I find that the bureaucracy, the red tape of these large companies, they just don't want to delve into it until something happens, Jeff, until that trucker drives off the road, or that story up in New Hampshire.
But especially local, on a local level, where companies, at least I'll speak for the Northeast, are having trouble finding drivers, where they can go to someone, where someone like Amazon can offer double, triple the price for drivers, and they're getting the cream of the crop. Regular companies, which is the basis of our economy, they just want someone with a pulse nowadays.
It's so true. Many times I fight that, where they go like, Phil, I'm afraid to screen because I don't want to lose the one person that wants to work for me. And I counter that with the one person that you don't do the background check can cause you great harm, like I mentioned. So because you lower your standards, like I can't get anybody, but don't bring on the devil that will make things impossible for you and have a long record and have that wreck where then everybody starts to go, well, Jeff, what did you do to check out this guy? Look, he's got like a 10-page driving record. He's got criminal records in 5 states. Then it all turns.
And can you screen for, let's say, I guess you can, for a background of DUIs for alcoholism?
Absolutely. And again, we do drug screening and alcohol screening as well. And there's a sticky point because it's not an illegal substance. But, when I pull a driving record and the person's got 3 DUIs in the past 6 years, it's a problem. I just saw the video recently of Johnny Damon's motor vehicle stop. That's going to be a problem. You see someone there who's out of control, and many times just in a driving record check, we get a history that this person has a problem, and you don't want it on your dime. I'm sorry to be harsh about it and understand that people have addictions, but when you're an employer and you're paying them to get from point A to point B and to do it safely, as safe as possible, you need to know if there's issues there that are going to cause a potential ticking bomb situation.
Terrible.
Food service, Jeff. Food service, it has been so harmed by the pandemic. We have so many in hospitality. I feel so sorry for them, but we're opening up. We're coming back. I want the food service clients to realize, just as you mentioned, you just want to get open. They want to hire more people and get going. You can't not do your due diligence. You still have to get your check marks and make sure you protect yourselves. We have a client, Wahlburgers, great name, great burgers, if I could add, opening up a new location up in the MGM Grand in Springfield, and they're taking the time to realize they have to do a thorough background check. It's so representative of their brand and their name that the food service industry can't let it slide now. You can't just jump in and not do that check. To me, it's like an expense, like you got to pay for a uniform or you got to pay for training, to me. So pay for the background check, make sure at least they are who they say they are.
Absolutely. Phil, I don't know if you've prepared or not, but usually you have some kind of trick questions for me at the end, or quiz.
I don't have a trick question, but I do have a famous falsifier, if you would, or honest person, famous person. This one, maybe people won't know his name. Most people won't know. It's James Peterson. Hate to call you out, James, but he's the president and CEO of Micro Semi Corporation. He's held that title from 2000 to the present, so quite a long time. And his situation was he claimed to have a diploma from Brigham Young University, excellent school. And the company reported this claim many, many times in press releases and promotional information. And the truth is that he lasted a year at Brigham Young, did not get his degree. It was all falsified. Now, the punishment, he did not lose his job, but he was fined at $100,000. This is just recently that it came to be, and he had to forego a six-figure bonus as well. So for him, quite a penalty, quite an embarrassment for the company. And to be honest, Jeff, a $30 educational background check would have surfaced that he did not have the degree he claimed. So very simple and very easy to correct. And these are what could happen to a company or your brand if you don't do the most minimal type of a background check.
Well, you know, I find that that lying is chronic amongst so many people. They're just so good.
We got to a point somewhere where we started to just accept it and hope it goes well. And you do have options. And for a very minimal cost, a background check can be completed in 2 to 3 business days, doesn't affect your turnaround time. And I know it's hard to find people. I have a friend in manufacturing, he can't staff, but you know what? There are some people out there, and we see them in politics, as you mentioned, and we see it when it happens in famous stories that are just out to cause harm and could, bankrupt your company.
Well, Phil, I always love these reports. I look forward to seeing you next week. If somebody needs you, and I know everybody needs a little bit of Sheriff Sharkey, how would they find you?
Thank you, Jeff. They can call us directly at 508-230-5901 right here in Massachusetts. You'll get a person answering a phone, not a machine or computer. And also we're on the web at hireoff.com. And my email is psharkey, my name, @hireoff.com.
Again, my name is Jeffrey Davis. That was Phil Sharkey from the Hire Authority. We will be returning with Phil next week. Thank you very much. This is Radio Entrepreneurs.